No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
Citizens of the internet, how are you doing? I am not 100% sure if I'm live or not. I hit go live on YouTube and it gave me an error, which I've never seen before. It said my stream there was some kind of a configuration error. So hopefully y'all are seeing this. If not, I am recording it. So I'll still be able to turn out segments from this episode, whether it gets streamed live or not. So take that, YouTube. And we have a lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but we have a lot to talk about. I am only currently doing this thing on a weekly basis, and I wish I could do it more. I'm behind on editing clips. I've been actually posting on TikTok lately, and that's been fun because I've been going back through my older episodes, a lot of which are up on Rumble and not on YouTube, and just taking clips of those and posting them onto TikTok. And I did one last night that was about how our food is poisoning us, and I actually posted that on Twitter as well. And that's one of those things where it's like, it was an eye-opener for me, and I almost consider it as like doing a public service to people by pointing this stuff out, you know? So tonight, we're going to talk about a couple different things. Let me pull up my little agenda paper here. But we're going to start with Cornel West, because Cornel West is ruffling a lot of feathers in the Democratic, the Democratic primary so far. I shouldn't say the Democratic primary because he's not running as a Democrat, and I think that's what's scaring the shit out of everyone. But excuse me. He did an interview that I think has gone largely unnoticed by a lot of the people in the leftist circles that I watch. I haven't seen, and maybe I missed something. Actually, I take this back. Sabby Sabs did do some reporting on this, but Cornel did an interview with Charlemagne and the Breakfast Club. And I think this is honestly one of his better interviews for a lot of different reasons, which we'll get into as we watch it. And I'm actually excited for him to see him on Jimmy Dore, who, I'm always talking about because Jimmy's largely one of the reasons I even do this. But also Jimmy today roasted Kyle Kulinski finally. He hasn't really said much at all about Kyle since the whole TYT thing went down. But that's another topic we're going to touch on as I'm preparing here. So one of the things I'm real focused on doing is getting the audio copies up of this. And so far I only have one up, but I will make it very much known once I have the whole collection up, at least up to episode 30. I want to get caught up to where I'm at now on YouTube. It's a process. I have to drag the video files into an audio editor, cut out the audio, post it up on a server, submit it through an RSS feed. It's a process, but it's happening. And once I get caught up, this will be part of the process for every show. So eventually there will be an audio only version of the Politics show. Just letting you know that. And in the short term, we are going to watch this video. And so I need to get my notes out here. And let's see. So the first clip I would like to talk about, I'm gonna share up my screen here. Like I said, it's pretty obvious to anyone who's paying attention at this point that Cornel is over the target because he's upsetting a lot of the Democrats and the power structures, the people that the kingmakers in the Democratic Party. So let's listen to this first bit I have here is him talking. So this is them talking about Cornel being a threat.
To be a servant of the people. You see that Harriet Tubman was a threat to the white supremacist order.
Let me go back just a little bit.
It's a beautiful thing, though. That's what it means to be a servant of the people. You see that Harriet Tubman was a threat
I didn't go
to
back
the
far
white
enough.
supremacist order.
What was
Frederick
the
Douglass
question?
out, and it's a beautiful thing.
Here it is.
Happy to have you here, brother. You know, I see that the Democrats and a lot of progressives are saying they wish you wouldn't run, saying that your presidential bid could cripple President Biden's potential run. How does that feel to be that kind of threat, to be that kind of disruptor?
Well, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, though. That's what it means to be a servant of the people. You see that Harriet Tubman was a threat to the white supremacist order. Frederick Douglass was a threat. That's why I put a bounty on his head. Ida B. Wells was a threat against lynching and American terrorism, Jim and Jane Crow. That's why they put a bounty on his head. Martin King, Fannie Lou Hamer, they were threats. And what does it mean to be a threat? What it means to be a threat is you calling into question an order that's predicated on too much suffering of precious everyday people. Now,
There it is. And this is one of the reasons I really like Cornel West. He's going to make the same case that Bernie Sanders made, but he's going to make that case outside of the Democratic Party. And that's why he's a threat. And it's funny because I'm going to show you this real quick. Speaking of threats, right? So I found this, where the fuck is it? I think I put it in here. Maybe I didn't put it in here. Oh. I didn't put it in here. Okay, never mind. I suck. It's okay. It's not a good aside anyway. It was basically a ballot that had from a previous election, just to tell you what I was going to share here. And the ballot had not only Roseanne on it, but also Jill Stein. So, okay. In this next clip, Cornel says, "Steal my thunder," which I think this is such a great snapback to the idea that he's some kind of a threat to Biden. Listen to what he says to this. This is good.
that which you don't want to come to terms with. If you were really concerned about the issues I'm concerned about, then steal my thunder. Be on the cutting edge of eliminating mass incarceration. Be on the cutting edge of abolishing of poverty, abolishing homelessness. And we were just talking to my beloved wife, Anahita, here, the unhoused precious brothers and sisters. If you really want to speak to the issues, be on the edge of trying to gain access of workers with a living wage. Then I wouldn't have no ground.
That's right.
You see? So they think that but people say, well, it's just a personal thing. It's just a vanity thing. Please, I just turned 70 years old. The last thing I want to do is be wrestling with the issues in the American empire that have to do with just how sick and indifferent and callous our elites are when it comes to poor people and working people. But I got to be true to one's calling.
Yeah.
I love this man. Cornel, he's the perfect candidate, really. And I'll go back to what I said before. Tavis Smiley, so I'm pretty sure it was Tavis Smiley who said, Cornel West or president isn't on brand for Cornel West or like president. And I said, that's exactly the point. We don't want on brand for president. We want someone like that, someone who's thinking about other people ahead of himself. And, you know, we had a black president. I believe it was Russ and Keaton who brought this point up the other day, and I thought it was so brilliant. Russell Dobular from Do Dissidents, props to you, my friend, because you always have such an eloquent way of summing up some of these issues. But one of the things Russell said that I thought was now I lost it. It was about third-party voting and third-party candidates being a threat. And he basically was making the point that if they were really a threat, the Democrats would work harder to get their voters, you know. But also, I think that the idea that that Trump is some scary thing that we need to defend freedom from is also lost at this point. Like no one on the left is going to vote for Biden because they're scared of Trump. Well, I shouldn't say that. No one who's really on the left, who's really been paying attention, thinks that there's any knows that there is any difference between Trump and Biden. So in this next clip, this is something I really wanted to. This is one I think of Cornel West's flaws, to be honest. And honestly, it's really Charlemagne's flaw, but this is one of the things that they touched on that I want to retread. Okay. So check this out. Here they say something, they're talking about January 6th a little bit. And just in context, because there's a point here I want to make. So listen to this.
No other people. John Coltrane's Love Supreme, Toni Morrison's Beloved, James Baldwin's Love Soak Essays, and we ain't got the Stevie Wonder Let Love in Need of Love. What is it about these people who terrorized for 400 years but don't form a black version of the Ku Klux Klan? You see, that continually call for the freedom of everybody. That's a spiritual and a moral discipline that the whole world takes notice of.
Who never tried to overthrow the government.
Who never tried to overthrow the government the way in which
they did on
the right
January
wing
6th.
gangsters did. You see, now, and of course, there's a sense in which we had good reason to overthrow the government.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I want to talk about this because the people on January 6th did not try to overthrow the government. And I think one of the big problems with working class unity is this kind of thing, where Charlemagne has been completely convinced, and he's not a dumb person. Charlemagne is not dumb. He's a smart dude. But he lives inside this world where January 6th was a legitimate attempt to overthrow the government. Okay? And it's all because of propaganda, and this is intentionally wound up propaganda. Because as I think Jimmy makes this point so great, where were their guns? If you would think if they were going to overthrow the government, they would have came armed. And do you really think those people could have overthrown the government? Like how? That's the thing that blows me away about this is Charlemagne, like I said, is not a dumb person, but these kind of divisions, I think, have been stoked so heavily for this purpose, to make sure that a guy like Charlemagne doesn't recognize that his people, the people that he's speaking to, have a lot in common with the Trump supporters. And I made this point earlier this year when police in Atlanta shot this protester guy who was living in a treehouse tweeting things, and they called him a terrorist. And I said, this guy in the treehouse tweeting things against the cops is no more of a terrorist than Ashley Babbitt was. And I want to make this point specifically about cops, because this is the thing. When it comes to cops, I'm not even against them using force, okay? the thing is, I would rather hear this sound than gunshots.
Don't tase me, bro. Don't tase me. I didn't do anything. Ow! 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 Ow!
Okay, the point is, if someone's acting like an asshole, fine, tase them, spray them with bear spray, cuff them, take them to the station. Don't shoot them. Okay? So, and that rule for me applies to Ashley Babbitt as much as it does the kid in Atlanta. And I'm way off topic now because I really wanted a reason to play that "Don't Tase Me, Bro" sample. But the point I'm saying is a relevant one. And the point is, Charlemagne here believes that January 6th was this brutal insurrection against America. And I just want to show you real quick. I just want to show you this real quick because I'm so over this shit. I am so fucking over this. Okay. Okay. So watch this. We're gonna share this piece of information here. This is Trump's tweet from January 6th. Look at the date on this. It's a screenshot of Trump's tweet. 12:13 p.m., January 6, 2021. I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. Does that sound like a call to insurrection? That is how fucking stupid America is and has been made by our media intentionally. And it bothers me that Charlemagne said that. It really bothers me because he's not seeing the forest for the trees here, which is Ice Cube gets it. Guys like Ice Cube and Kanye even. I think Kanye is as autistic and whacked out as he seems to a lot of people. Kanye's a lot smarter than he gets credit for. And I've spilled plenty of ink on this subject, or spittle, whatever you want to call it, ranting about it. But, I just wanted to highlight that again because come on, Charlemagne, you're better than that. They did not attempt to overthrow the government. That's the most ridiculous thing. And it's a narrative, frankly, that's being used to get people like Charlemagne to support the tamping down of protests, which will be used against Black people eventually, if it's not already being. It's already being used against Black people. All right. So the next little piece of news here, before we move on to like the real good one, is I think I really like Cornel's message on this piece right here. Let's see. So listen to what he says right here about what his mission is.
Freedom dream. I like to get away. Well, I like to get away. What you want to do? To get some distance from all these lies, this suffering, all of this pain, all these wounds and scars. And what you gonna do with it? I'm gonna make it better for everybody else, not just myself. And to be on the gravy train is to be in it just for yourself and forget about what your grandmama did for you. Forget about what your partner did for you or your companion did for you, or even when your child looks at you and says, who are you really, Daddy? Who are you really, Mama? Are you really giving? That's the greatness. In the biblical, he or she is greatest among you will be your servant. What does it mean to serve? And of course, the crucial challenge there is, and this is where it gets really very funky, and we got to bring in Bootsy and Clinton and
I love
the greatest
that.
of them all, James Brown, because you see, when you niggerize a people, a dignified African people, you teach them that they're less beautiful, they're less intelligent, they're less moral, but you keep them fearful. You know that line in James Baldwin, that letter to his nephew in Fire Next Time? He says, don't, be afraid. I heard in Shiloh Baptist Church.
This line.
Don't be afraid. Martin Luther King used to say what? I'd rather be dead than afraid. Mary Ellen Pleasant. Y'all know Mary Ellen
This line
Pleasant,
right
black
here.
sister in California? who was a multimillionaire that gave John Brown, the white brother who died for black people, gave him $600,000 in 1856. He had the note from Mary in his pocket when he was executed, and she was beginning every presentation. I'd rather be a corpse than a coward.
That's heavy. That's heavy. Speaking of cowards, this right here, this clip for people like myself and like Willie Bragg and the people on the left who have worked to try and actually instigate some real change that get people like AOC elected, the squad, so that they could actually materially change things for the working class. We've obviously been very disappointed by those efforts, because once we get those people in, they become absorbed in the garbage process and they become a robot. And I think the best example of that right now is Bidenomics. These people who are out here trying to pretend like the economy's awesome. It's not awesome. I don't care who you are. Even if you're rich as hell, even in investing circles, because of COVID, commercial real estate is hurting, because no one's going back to work. There are empty office buildings everywhere. But that aside, who cares about that? I'm talking about people like me and you who have to buy groceries. Groceries are still, I'm paying twice what I was paying for groceries a couple years ago, and it's crazy. It's crazy. So this stuff is really, and gas, everything gets more and more expensive, but wages stay the same. And that's unsustainable, but listen to this next piece, because Cornel talks a little bit about people who need to be talked about.
Resources, give up something. And unfortunately, we're living in such a moment of spiritual decay, not just in the nation, but in Black America. We just got too many black folk who are scared and fearful and intimidated and don't want to speak the truth.
When you hear allies, well, I guess allies of yours like AOC say Cornel West is too big of a risk because of the Electoral College and the fact you may take some of those votes. What do you think of people like that? Because they're progressive. Shouldn't they want these issues on the ticket? Shouldn't they want somebody like you on the ticket bringing up these issues?
Right.
I love Charlemagne for that reason, because he has the balls to ask questions like that. He's an independent thinker, and that's why that January 6th shit frustrates me so much. But anyway,
don't know, it's true, and that's a wonderful question though, because you've got a progressive slice in the Democratic Party. Now, I was with Brother Bernie, as my dear sister knows, twice. They treated him badly. They treated him unjustly. They rigged the whole thing. You had Hillary Clinton and the others were going to ensure that he did not win no matter what. So that.
I also love that he's saying that on a show like this. This is a pretty mainstream show. A lot of people in New York and on the East Coast listen to the Breakfast Club. So
the core of the Democratic Party is a rot. And that rottenness is corporate greed. And they tied to big money, big donors, big benefactors. Can't be a member of the Democratic Party and win without access to big money. Now, I'm as broke.
That explains RFK Jr. and his Israel stance.
Broke as the 10 Commandments financially. Personally, collectively, and I don't mind. Because somewhere I read, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all the rest of the things will be added. So when I hear AOC, I say, okay, she's part of that progressive small slice of the Democratic Party, but she's giving in to the perceptions of the corporate wing of that party. And the corporate wing says over and over again, all we have is two parties. It's frick and frack. It's Tweedledee and Tweedledum. There is a difference domestically, but not a whole lot of difference in terms of foreign policy. You ask Palestinian brothers on.
Is there a difference domestically? Is there a difference domestically? Okay, well, this is the part where he gets into Palestine, so I don't even need to adjust it. But I think for people on the left who typically would align with what I would refer to as the the powerless, the subjugated, the oppressed. This is good to hear, because this is where someone should be on an issue like this. So listen to what he says here about Palestine.
On the West Bank, when they got the various bombs coming at them, when 550 Palestinian children are killed in 50 days. Mm-hmm. Somewhere I read or somewhere I heard in Vacation Bible School in Shiloh Baptist Church, Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world, red or yellow, black or white. They are precious in his sight. So a Palestinian child has exactly the same value as a precious Jewish child. And a precious Jewish child has exactly the same value as a precious black or red or indigenous or anywhere else, Ethiopian, Lithuanian, and so forth. And you ask the black politician, how come you won't say a mumbling word about the Palestinians undergoing that kind of suffering? They're on the gravy train. They've adjusted themselves. So AOC is on the progressive side of the Democratic Party.
Progressive slide. That's a.
She at the same time now has become so well adjusted to the core of the Democratic Party. And she can change. I mean, and I'm, as a Christian, I try to love everybody. So everybody.
Well,
right,
Dr. West,
So he's giving her an opportunity, but I like that he's calling her out. He's not being spiteful about it. He's not being hateful about it, but he's pointing out the reality of what's going on here. The hell? God damn it. So anyway, in this next section, I love this analogy he uses, because he talks about Bernie Sanders, and he says the burn fizzled out. So good. But Cornel West was and is still, I think, one of Bernie's biggest advocates. So it's still, this even is not spiteful, of course.
The Democratic Party. But she at the same time now has become so well adjusted to the core of the Democratic Party. And she can change. I mean, and I'm, as a Christian, I try to love everybody. So everybody.
Well, Dr. West, I want to follow up on that, because you are right. The progressive movement, it started out, with everybody excited. It happened well before Bernie Sanders, but everybody was feel the burn. And now that burn is kind of fizzled out, because there is a current split between those that still support the squad and then those who are now calling them the fraud squad, because they have switched. So how do we,
see, where else in mainstream television are you having this conversation? You have to give credit to the Breakfast Club for this. Did you hear what she said? I mean, that sounds like actual real left talk. Like these guys are watching Sabby or something.
Where's the accountability? A lot of folks feel that Black people should be involved in the progressive movement. I don't think we have the leadership that it needs, as far as those who are making the decisions at the top, not just the faces. But how do we hold people like AOC accountable that said, and I'm just using her for example, piggybacking off Charlamagne's question, but what do we do for those that said, no, we're going to push the line, we're going to go hard, and then they flip?
Yeah, we just got to tell the truth.
Such a good question.
Tell the truth in humility. And the truth is a jagged edge in Janet's face, which is to say it has a number of different dimensions to it. It comes back at us and it goes at others. No one of us have a monopoly on truth.
That's right.
Truth is bigger. Justice is bigger. Beauty's bigger. Love is bigger. But we got to be honest. We got to be candid. Now, for example, if AOC was doing something important on the local level, if she was dealing with housing evictions, and I'm in solidarity with folk dealing with all this gentrification, all of this land grab and power grab, and they wanted to do something within the neighborhood, I'd be there with her. Because it ain't about her, it ain't about me, it's about the people suffering. But when it comes to presidential politics, and people are so quick to endorse without leverage, I mean, it's amazing to me that people say, Brother West, you have a chance of turning the whole election. I told my wife, now how in the world, just 3 months ago, I'll wake up and I'm listening to Aretha. Ain't nobody thinking about me. 3 months later, I got the power to turn the whole election.
Yeah, that means somebody not doing something right.
You ain't lying.
That's right.
You got to.
That's so on point. And so, again, I wanted to highlight this interview. I don't know if Jimmy's seen it or a lot of people on the left, because I know Jimmy was frustrated with Cornel, with Anderson Cooper, but he's just dipping his toe in the water, and he didn't come at Anderson Cooper guns blazing. But with an interview like this, you see Cornel in his element, being candid about these issues and speaking off the cuff, and listen to him talk. I love that he associates things with music too. That's like my favorite part, because I love John Coltrane. I love George Clinton. I love Sly Stone. I love all that music. It's really the basis for hip hop. It's the basis for music in general. I've argued several times that James Brown is the real king of rock and roll, because he has that guttural, like, yeah, scream. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. So in this next clip, Cornel talks about how Bernie already endorsed Biden, which is really shitty. There, let me find it. That's can he change his mind? I don't know.
Joe Biden. He was one of the first to endorse Joe Biden. And
see, this lady is a G. She comes at it with the best questions.
You supporting him. But what are your thoughts on him kind of jumping out there immediately?
Yeah, I love the brother. My dignity. You see. It's like me giving up Curtis Mayfield and opting for the Beach Boys. I'm not going to do it. I ain't got nothing against Beach Boys.
For the record, screw the Beach Boys. In relation to, and as a white boy, 1000%, Sly Stone, James Brown, I'll take any of those artists over the Beach Boys any day of the week. Cool in the gang.
But ain't my thing.
That's right.
Ain't my thing.
That's right.
No. I'm down and out. I want to hear some Anita Baker. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. West, speaking of truth telling, I just have to say it. Bernard Sanders also endorsed Joe Biden. He was one of the first to endorse Joe Biden, and many would argue that he did that without leverage as well. And that was before you got on the ballot. I would hope that if you got on the ballot first, he would support you like you supporting him. But what are your thoughts on him kind of jumping out there immediately?
Yeah, I love the brother, and you even in love, people have deep disagreements about these things. But I think, again, he's fearful of the neo-fascism of Trump, and he just sees that somehow Biden. See, part of the problem is that,
again, I do not like that characterization, because it's not true. It's not true at all. And I'm going to play a clip later with Kyle Kulinski talking about that accurately, about the Trump shit being hyperbole. Like, Trump is not a neo-fascist any more than Joe Biden is. In fact, I would argue that Biden is worse. And I'm someone who has voted Democrat my whole life. So fuck off with the neo-fascist Trump shit. The people that voted for Trump aren't all racist. Sure,